there's another well-known vice presidential debate, this one between sitting Vice President George H.W. Bush and Democratic candidate Geraldine Ferraro. Bush was perceived as a bit of a bully during this exchange on Iran and Libya.
Let me help you with the difference, Ms. Ferraro, between Iran and the embassy in Lebanon. Iran, we were held by a foreign government. In Lebanon, you had a wanton terrorist action where the government opposed it. We went to Lebanon to give peace a chance, to stop the bombing of civilians in Beirut, to remove 13,000 terrorists from Lebanon. We did. We saw the formation of a government of reconciliation, and for somebody to suggest, as our two opponents have, that these men died in shame, they better not tell the parents of those young Marines. They gave peace a chance, and our allies were with us, the British, the French, and the Italians.
Larry, the criticism back then was that George H.W. Bush was a bit of a scold, and he was sort of condescending to our first female candidate on a major presidential ticket, at least in modern times.
Yeah, look, his answer was perfectly fine, except for the preface. Let me help you with this. That seemed condescending, and he got a great deal of criticism for it. I believe that was the point at which Barbara Bush referred to Geraldine Ferraro with a word that rhymes with witch. It was an interesting moment in an otherwise very dull campaign. A famous book written about it said, "Wake us when it's over." That was the title of the book.
That's pretty good. And interestingly, Doug, because you know the Bush family very well, you helped coach George W. Bush. It's something that George H.W. never really learned, because I remember when he was running for president against Bill Clinton, that one great moment where he looked at his watch and everybody said, "Oh man, he really doesn't want to be up there."
All I can say is, if you should have seen him before he practiced. That's what I can say, because they spent months practicing and hours practicing, and you don't see some of the mistakes they could have made that were left on the cutting room floor. I remember a debate with George H.W. Bush, a practice debate, and it was when he was running in 1988, and he got the question in the practice debate about his flip-flop on abortion, because now he was in favor of a constitutional amendment to outlaw abortion. That was a flip-flop. So they asked him about it. I was one of the shills, and he went into his standard answer from the stump, which was, "I finally decided that 15 million abortions were enough." And as a shill, I pounced on that, and I said, "Mr. Vice President, didn't 10 million abortions matter? Didn't 3 million abortions matter?" We had a little break, and Roger Ailes and Pete Teeley and others said, "From now on, just state your position and then get off of it. We'll just lose it, but get off of it. Don't elaborate on why you believe what you believe." So they do make a lot of mistakes in the debates, but they make a lot more of them when they're practicing.
That is some fascinating insight. Jonathan,
could I throw one thing in here?
Yes, please.
Doug, that was wonderful what you just recited, and of course Bush was a better president than he was debater. But do you know, one of his legacies in debating is that most of the staffs remove the candidate's watch before they go out on the stage so that they can no longer look at their watch.
You mean, so that set that precedent, Larry, after that moment when George H.W. looked at his watch as if to say, "When can I get out of here?" People now say, "No more watches on that stage."
And part of the problem,
exactly.
Doug, correct me if I'm wrong, part of the problem was that President Bush was an early riser, and the debate started at 9 o'clock at night, and he was tired.
No,
he'd been worried about the late night start. So, you know, it was a really unfortunate moment for him, because it sort of confirmed all of the negative frame that had been used against him in 1992. This idea that he was out of touch with average Americans and their economic struggle. It wasn't true. He cared very much, but this one image really solidified that idea.
And you know, he thought after that debate with Ferraro, he thought he won. And remember, this was a different time. So if you look at it right now, it's horrendous. But at that time, About half of the women would have accepted that. This excerpt shows how far women's rights and our attitude towards women have changed even in the last couple decades.